Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 53. It's the build-up to the game on Saturday, England against Australia, and of course the return of Owen Farrell and Maro Itoje. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm joined again by Dan. Hi mate.
Hey Andy, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Obviously Thursday, team's been announced for Saturday's game against Australia, so we're obviously we need to have a quick chat. There's been a few kind of changes to the side that warrant a conversation. We won't keep anyone too long. Just before we get into that though, we keep on banging on about how much we want people to review us, and we've had a few come in and we've not mentioned them, so I feel like now would be a good time. So since the infamous Deb post
666,
we have had from Bobbert23 says, great podcast, 5 stars. I really enjoy the podcast, guys. I'm really looking forward to the international game coverage from you. So that's very nice. Thank you, Bobbert23. Hash or Has JH says, banging pod, 5 stars, decent pod.
Awesome.
I guess there's no need to expand when you're heaping such praise on us. So yeah, appreciate that. 5 stars there from him. That's always nice. Andy Blackhall says, Deb knows nothing. Great podcast. Lots of fun. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that, Andy. Nice review there. And then the big one, and this is actually in interests of transparency, is a friend of ours, is Ed Sanderson. He called me on it at the weekend, wanted to know why we hadn't commented on his review. But I'm going to read it out. Slightly long one here. He was bored. He says, if Carlsberg did rugby podcasts, amongst the vast array of rugby podcasts available, there's little differentiation with the exception of the England Rugby Pod. Scroll to the back catalogue of other rugby pods and what you listen to is irrelevant. The games have been played at the topic at the time, debated online and offline. Scroll through the back catalogue of the England Rugby Pod and you're in for a treat. The top-line analysis of players is insightful and a laugh. Andy and Dan offer a fresh perspective and solid over-a-pint-down-the-pub banter, which is refreshing versus the other rugby pod competition. Note, chaps, apparently our analysis of Cruz's schooling is incorrect because with Richard Horton and George Cruz, another fine rugby player that left the same school, was apparently this reviewer.
Ed Rocket Man. Sorry, buddy.
The Rocket Man. So yeah, appreciate that, Ed. 5 stars, of course, there. Just a quick note, actually, to you, my friend. I've been asked to remind you that because Mike Brown didn't go on the Lions tour, you owe quite a few people quite a lot of money. So just a quick nudge from us to you. But thanks for the review. No changing them now. Anyway, yeah, so a few good reviews there. Obviously, really nice to hear, and we'd love to have more of those. So, guys, keep them coming, and we really appreciate the support.
Yeah, guys, actually, genuinely, thanks a lot for those reviews. It makes what we do seem. I mean, we really enjoy what we're doing. We genuinely do, but it's really nice when we get those nice reviews. I know some of it is even possibly a bit lip service, but genuinely that cheers us up. So, guys, thanks so much for taking the time and effort to do that. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Right. So yeah, onto the Saturday's game against Australia. I mean, I guess the unsurprising changes is, of course, the inclusion of Owen Farrell. We were all expecting that. It does, however, mean that someone had to step down for him, and Henry Slade has been moved to the bench, and therefore old Alex Lozowski has been pushed out, which. I kind of feel a bit sorry for him because I thought Lozowski looked actually. I mean, I know that I've not been his his biggest stalwart, if that's the right word for it, but I thought he looked pretty good last weekend in the small amount of time that he was on.
I think the small amount of time he had, he did really good. I think overall, I completely get it. I mean, over the course of the season, Henry Slade 100% deserves his opportunity. In my opinion, Henry Slade probably deserves to start at 13 based upon what's happened the whole of this season. But yeah,
I would agree. I think JJ is very lucky, in my opinion.
He is, but the problem is when I saw that team, although in my heart I wanted Slade to start, I probably feel more comfortable with JJ there.
I mean, he's been there
because I know what he can do. Yeah,
and he's played Australia, in an England shirt. He knows what's expected,
and he does well against them.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing with JJ is we've seen him perform. We know that he can do it. And if he does what he does best, then it'll be a great thing to see. I think with Slade sitting on the bench, Eddie Jones isn't the kind of guy that's afraid to say, do you know what, it's not working, make the change and potentially early. It's kind of on him. He's fortunate, I think. I feel that he's lucky to have another shot at it, or at least another shot to start. And it's up to him now to kind of take that opportunity. And I think Henry Slade will be itching to get on there. And I suspect it will be a replacement. But the two of them will swap out at, say, 60 minutes roughly. I imagine Slade will be put in at the 13, unless there's been any kind of injuries, obviously. So it's really for JJ to hold on to that shirt, and Henry Slade will be itching to try and take it from him. That's the feeling that I get. Yeah,
the centres one's interesting because I'm actually also going tomorrow night, so Friday night, going to Kingsholm to watch Gloucester play Saracens, and obviously Lazowski's been returned to Saracens. I suspect he'll be starting at 10. But it'll be interesting to see him play. It'll be interesting to see what form Henry Trinder's in as well.
Yes.
And then to compare that on Saturday with, I don't think Farrell needs comparison with anyone, but compare it with JJ. I'm sure Henry Slade will get a shot. So it's an interesting weekend for the centres. But seeing that team, when I saw it, although in my heart I probably thought, I think Henry Slade deserves it, I was okay. I was pretty happy with it. I think the thing I was mainly happy with was seeing Watson at fullback, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it's we've both said, we've not been shy about talking about the fact that we think that he is the future England fullback. Weirdly, all the chat that we've been having, about how we think Mike Brown is over the hill. I think I referred to him as a vet for Harlequins. There was something when I was looking at the team sheet for Argentina that I did like about the fact that there was a guy at the back with 66 caps or whatever he has now. So I do kind of get why he's still included, why he's still involved. But I think that Anthony Watson offers something. He offers an attacking option that Mike Brown used to offer, and I just don't feel he offers it anymore.
Agreed.
And I think that's why this is a good move. And I know that Mike Brown's obviously he got the head injury last week. I suspect it's probably that's caused this decision. But I think for us at least, it's kind of worked out for the best as long as Mike Brown is obviously okay, because it means that Watson gets to start where we think he should be starting. And of course Johnny May is coming into the fold. And on the other wing you've got Elliot Daly, who probably wouldn't be the first choice to start there if everyone was fit, but he's going to be the guy that's there or thereabouts. If it's not him, it's probably Jack Noel. So I'm pretty happy with the back three for this weekend. I'll be interested to see if Johnny May can kind of replicate his Premiership form.
Yeah, I was going to say, we haven't even mentioned him. So it'll be really interesting. And what you're saying about Daly on the wing is actually a good point, because when Jack Noel is back, assuming he starts playing the form that we know he can, you're then looking at, if we're saying that Watson stayed at fullback for argument's sake, so if you had Watson at fullback, Johnny May, assuming he plays wing, Jack Noel on the wing, it then probably becomes a straight shootout. Well, it's between Daly, JJ and Slade. Who's on that bench? Is it just between them? Because I guess Rocco's there as well.
Well, I suppose you're saying that of the three of them, two are involved, right? Because one's going to be starting 13 and the other one is on the bench. Yeah. I feel like Daly is an important person to have thereabouts, as much as anything else, for that long boot that we saw was so valuable, in tight games, and especially with the World Cup coming up, in on the Lions tour, they used him for exactly that reason. And it's silly to, I'm not suggesting for a second that you have someone who's not good enough but happens to be able to kick the ball a long way. Of course not. But he's a good player who also has this sort of little extra ability that's pretty useful to have. And we've talked about that plenty when we covered him in a player profile. But so I feel like actually Slade and JJ are kind of shooting. It's a kind of shootout between who starts at 13 and who doesn't make the matchday squad.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it'll be interesting. Interestingly, on that long boot, there's an Aussie winger whose name I forget, and I don't really care, but he so against Wales, he's also got a massive boot. So the Aussies also have that in their armour as well.
Yeah, it's an important weapon to have. It's an important weapon to have.
Yeah, it really is.
Talking talking of kicking, I mean, I suspect the answer's pretty straightforward. But who's our kicker on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I suspect it will be Farrell.
Yeah.
But it's so comfortable to know now that George Ford has really got his kicking boots on at the moment.
I think the thing is, Owen Farrell actually hasn't had for a little while. I mean, he's not had the best form with his kicking. I think a lot of pundits would say that Owen Farrell is like a big game player. So you stick him in an England shirt and you stick him in a Test match against Australia, and he's gonna kick everything straight through the middle. But do you bank on something like that, or do you say actually George Ford is on form?
I think you probably bank on Farrell. I must admit, I haven't necessarily seen his Premiership stats this year, so I'm not entirely sure. But I know there have been a few matches where there's been chat of that. I think you probably bank on Farrell for now. I think you look at, in the lead up to 2019, based upon sort of money in the bank as such, who do you have as your kicker? And I think Farrell still is ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I'm putting it out there as a question just to sort of have a discussion. But I agree with you. I think you do bank on Farrell, and I think you say, look, he's done it time and time again for England, and until he's not doing it for England, and I know that kind of, we talk about form in general, and we say it should be about form. You can't bank on past performances, but I feel like Farrell is in a league of his own,
In many ways,
it's allowed for him. It's allowed. Anyway, let's move on to the forwards, because there's a couple of changes there. I think that the big one for us is, and for everyone, I imagine, is Maro Itoje is back, but he's on the bench.
It has to be I think it has to be a sort of a planned player development. They said before even these autumn internationals, they said they have a plan for the big man. I'm allowed to say it because he's back, for the specimen.
His new nickname.
That is his new nickname. The Pearl Specimen, I think they call him. So they said they have a plan in place. I assume this is just part of that plan. Because if he's fully fit, which as far as we're aware he is, I believe he starts.
Yeah, I mean, we had a brief chat about this earlier, and I got the impression that you felt that I was suggesting he wasn't as good as we've been banging on about how good he is.
You angered me.
Obviously that wasn't what I was getting at. Yes, if you're going to take our awesome foursome and you're going to put them ordered 1 to 4, he's at number 1 in my opinion. Probably closely followed by Courtney Laws, based on current form. But I think the gap is much closer than we perhaps have implied. And I wonder if Eddie Jones, whether he has got Maro marked in as his starting number 4 or number 5, or I don't know whether it makes a difference. But whether he's got him penciled in or inked in as his starter generally, and now he needs to find out which of the other 3, which 2 of the other 3 he wants to involve, and that's why you got Cruz and Courtney starting last week, and Launchbury and Courtney starting this week. Maybe that's the reason, or is there something else in it? Does he think that he wants to see what Maro's like as a finisher?
No, I think he's too good. I think if he's fit, he starts. I don't think there's anything. I think it's very easy to overanalyze. Let's see what happens.
Also, let's not forget, he's also played him in the back row quite a bit.
Yeah.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I suspect you're right. I suspect that he's kind of got him inked in already, and so he's saying, well, I don't need him to start, in this game. Yes, we want to win it, and he's there, and he can come on and help us do that. And in Cruz, Launchbury, and Courtney Laws, in either combination of those 3, we have a very strong second row regardless, so it's not like we're taking a massive risk by not including him. Let's find out which of the 4 make up the 3, if you like.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're agreed on that. And then the final one, which I think is unfortunate, is Ellis Genge is obviously missing out. He's been dropped, and Joe Marler's back. We kind of talked about that.
I think that's a little harsh.
Harsh on
Genge.
I know, that's what I mean. I think I'm a little disappointed actually, because I was quite excited about seeing Ellis Genge getting a bit fired up, and I kind of think a game against Australia is going to fire him up even more. Now, obviously, we don't want, and what we don't, historically, he's had a bit of a temper issue, but then so's Joe Marler. In fact, he's
it's
coming off the back of a
Violet himself.
well, he's coming off the back of a ban himself, isn't he? So, but so I don't know whether that means something. But given that Eddie Jones seems to like players like that get fired up, you would think that it must be something to do with form. But I mean, Ellis Genge is the guy that's literally tearing up the Premiership at the moment, as far as front row players go. And I think, it's a shame that we won't get to see him against Australia. Even off the bench. I mean, Harry Williams is still on the bench. Obviously, that it's irrelevant because they're loosehead and tighthead rather than the same position. But
well done.
Thank you. I think that's an unfortunate one. I think
it is. I'm not. I think in my head, the thing going through my head is, as long as Mako's there,
which
we're okay.
Of course he is. Yeah, no, Mako was awesome against Argentina.
He wasn't he? Yeah,
deserved man of the match. Just looking like though, we've talked over the course of the series and for years about the fact that we need a front row that does what they do in New Zealand. The handling skills, and he had the soft touches at the weekend, the little kind of just slowing up, holding back, popping the ball, just creating gaps. It was amazing to see from a front row, and I know you see these New Zealanders doing these crazy little offloads and stuff. I kind of think that's, they're taking a punt and getting lucky. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like it.
But Mako he just looks like he has a really good he seems to have really good vision, and I think he must have been a fly half in another life.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So okay, well, actually. Firstly, before moving on, just in case there are any listeners who haven't heard the squad, do you want to read out the sort of full starting team and squad for them?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Have I put you on the spot there?
I don't have it in front of me, but if you entertain our listeners for 2 minutes, I'll pull it up onto the screen.
Okay. Well, whilst Andy's looking up the full starting team and squad, the only other thing that I'm happy about, actually, just sort of, I'm half talking to you as well here, Andy, is that Underhill starts, and that Simmons is still on the bench. Last week he put in such a massive defensive performance. I think Australia this week are going to be really gunning for this, and I think Australia have a good chance to beat us for the first time in a while on the back of a few massive victories over the All Blacks and Wales. So to have Underhill's defensive performance, I think it's going to be huge. And then if the game does loosen up a bit, I like the thought of Simmons being able to come on and hopefully tear up a few positions.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. There's obviously the Jamie Georges of the world who are going to come on and do their thing as well, which is always good. And yeah, I agree. I think Sam Underhill's going to have an important role to play in probably slowing Australia down a little bit and just putting them under a lot of pressure. And it will be very interesting to see him against Hooper. And I know that they don't obviously. It's not actually them against each other. That's not how it really works with flankers. But just seeing how the two, comparing the two of them and their styles, because everyone has for a long time now just talked about Hooper as being the kind of the difference. But obviously Australia been under a bit of pressure recently, not been getting the results until very recently. And now we have a guy that people can maybe start talking about. So yeah, it'd be good to see what he can do. Anyway, look, I've managed to find what we were looking for. So quick rundown. So the starting 15: Watson, May, Joseph, Farrell, Daly, Ford, and Youngs making up the backs, and then obviously Mako, Hartley, Dan Cole across the front. Launchbury and Laws, we've said, in the middle, and then Rob Shaw, Underhill, Hughes, no changes there, making up the back row. And then on the bench, the finishers rather, Jamie George, Joe Marler and Harry Williams, Maro, Simmons, Danny Kerr, Henry Slade and Rocca Daguni. So a few, there's what, three, 4 changes?
Yeah, but it sounds good though, doesn't it? It sounds a good team, good squad.
Yeah, I'm looking for. I kind of felt the same way last week, and I don't think last week's performance came down to team selection. I think it just came down to probably a bit of rust. That's what I think. And I think I've got a good feeling about it. I think we're going to see a very different performance, and I think the likes of Owen Farrell are going to have that ability to just, the experience that he's got, not just his quality, but his experience.
Almost that calming factor as well.
Yeah, just to
everyone's
be able to
like,
go, come on, guys, hold up. There was, George Ford is actually doing it very well for Leicester. I saw a few clips in the build-up, and they were showing what he's been doing for Leicester, and the number of times that you'll see him literally just telling everyone, calm down, I've got this under control, I know what I'm doing. And you can almost, his hand gestures would almost tell you what it was he was about to do, and he would always pull off whatever it was he was trying to do perfectly. So, if his hands are down, then the forwards are taking the ball. His hand goes up, the ball comes to him. And, and obviously he has that with Ben Youngs.
Are you using that as an example, or do you know that's the case?
No, I know that to be a fact.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if the hand gestures are like a planned thing or if it's a habit thing or whatever. But I've seen a clip of someone saying, "Look what happens when he does his hand. When his hand goes down, the forwards pick and go. When his hand goes up, they immediately step out the way and the ball comes to him. He's very much in control of the game. When the players outside him are getting a bit sort of flustered or a bit overeager, he calms them down and says, "Hold on, we've got this under control." And then bang, he executes whatever the move is and in the example shown, obviously he tries to score. So it'll be good to have him obviously being able to do stuff like that, but having Owen Farrell outside him, who is obviously a consummate professional himself, who can react to it probably slightly better than, as good as he might be, a Henry Slade with less experience or an Alex Lazowski with less experience. So I'm hoping that we will see a calm, kind of concise, well-executed performance on Saturday, and I think we will do it. I'm not going to go as far as to say that we're going to win by 57 points. That would be silly. This is Australia, so I'm going to say 44-12 to England.
Bloody hell! are you high?
Maybe a little.
Just a little. It's Thursday, of course. Sorry. I'm going to go. I think there may be a few points in that. I think we're going to be about. I reckon we'll win by sort of between 5 and 10. So I'm going to say something like, I don't know. Let's say it's going to be 29-21. We'll do to them what they did to Wales, and we'll do it just to mug off for Welsh as well.
Nice. Okay.
Which is always fun.
Probably a more realistic prediction, but I'm sticking with mine. We'll see what happens, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. And of course, guys, we will obviously bring you our kind of reviews on all of that over the weekend. So stay tuned. Thanks again for all your reviews and the ratings. Really helpful. And as Dan said at the beginning, we do this because we love it, but it just gives us a bit more of sort of justification for doing it, to hear that people who are listening are actually enjoying it. So really appreciate those. For anyone that hasn't done it yet, if you want to, it'd be great. We'd really appreciate that. Head over to iTunes. You can do it all there. Rate us, review us there. Get in touch with us on Twitter at England Rugby Pod. Let us know whatever you want, really. If you think we're getting things wrong, tell us. If you think we're getting things right, tell us. And if you've got any questions for us, or you want to share any interesting stories, stuff you'd like us to share on one of our future episodes, then let us know. But yeah, thanks for joining us again, and yeah, we will be reaching out to you again in a few days.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, thank you to Doghouse Fitness and Balham, one of our sponsors. We really appreciate your support. Guys, as always, thanks so much for listening. A massive thanks for reviews. Really cheered me up. And can't wait for the weekend. And so we'll look forward to bringing you our thoughts on the match.
Cheers, guys. Take care.